Just make sure that we've got all the buttons pressed here. Fantastic. Hi, my name is Gabriel McCarthy. I am a marketing consultant at Blended Digital. And today we're going to be talking about the topic of adding authenticity into marketing automation. Before we kick off, I actually wanted to show you guys a quick video that was put up by Adobe. Now, we're not sponsored by Adobe in any way, shape, or form, so this is an ad for them. But it was I thought it was a really great example of a video that kind of expresses the core of what we're talking about today in terms of the topic. It's basically the story of a marketing person working out with the Adobe platform, certain customer journeys, and how to use the platform to their advantage to create great customer experiences. So, without further ado, we'll just pop it on and have a watch.
I'm a marketer for a sports team, but as far as everyone else is concerned, I'm a wizard, and I owe it all to Adobe Campaign. Fan expectations have never been higher, so when I was assigned to our season opener, I knew I had to create an online and offline campaign that's personalized for every fan. Sounds like my life is over, right? Not with Adobe Campaign. I can do everything by myself and still have a life. The workflow is incredible. With its cool drag and drop interface, I can orchestrate and visualize the entire customer journey. I start with the integrated customer profile. It gives me a complete view of individual customers built from all our previous campaigns across all our marketing channels. It even includes their offline interactions. I use it to identify our biggest fans and add others I know would be interested. Emails are a great first contact. I'm not a programmer, or a designer for that matter, but you'd think I was. With Adobe Campaign, I can design emails from scratch or use a template to create exactly what I need. I can even use the editing elements of Adobe Photoshop without ever leaving the interface. It's important to remember that even with all their common interests, every fan is different, so I design different journeys that happen based on actions they take in real time. For example, while emails work great for many customers, some respond better to mobile push notifications. I can design for all of that right here. I can even reward our most loyal fans with a meet and greet invitation through snail mail. Adobe Campaign also lets me set optimization rules to improve experiences and prevent issues, like making sure we don't send too many messages within a certain amount of time, because that's annoying. Like my friend Jim and his bros. With how quickly I can do all this, I have time to really get to know our fans. It helps me to continually improve the experience. Knowing how big this campaign is for my career, my friends figured I'd be tied to my desk for weeks, but with Adobe Campaign, I can monitor everything right from my phone. It uses the power of Adobe Analytics and lets me make changes on the fly. And it's those changes and their impact that I'm most excited to share with my boss and stakeholders. With dynamic reporting, I can make all the data digestible and accessible to anyone. It's not only my friends and coworkers that think I'm a wizard, it's our fans. They feel like an important part of our team, and that's exactly what they are.
Cool. So I really wish I created that video, but I didn't. And it's, I think it really gets to the core of what we're going to be talking about today. So marketing authenticity. What does that mean? Well, before we kick off into the presentation, I just want to lay out some transparency about these kinds of workshops. I'm sure plenty of you have been to many before. I know I have myself. And we've kind of noticed a common trend when it comes to these kind of workshops or presentations. They either tend to be one or two things that have similar pitfalls. One being they're just like an ad, basically, trying to push you to sell you a product or service. And then the other, and they may be just something that is boilerplate, straight from a Google search result that they sent out to do a workshop, basically. And it's just a templated version of it. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to avoid all those trappings with this particular presentation. Yeah, you're good. So basically this is what this presentation is going to try and avoid. We're going to try and avoid all those usual ones and actually give you some things to take away with that make you go, oh, that was actually worth my time. I wasn't bored at all, and that was really fun. And I took away some valuable information. And look, at any point you don't feel that way, you can look under your chairs. We have some tomatoes just underneath there, so you can kind of feel free to hurl them out my body. I'm just joking. You don't have a budget for tomatoes, and there's none of it, so it's fine. So yeah, feel free to be engaged as much as you want. So with that being said, let's break down today's session. But before we do that, I want to do something a bit different, have a bit of fun. So I want all of you guys to whip out your phones now and go to this link here. I know it's very unconventional. Actually, we asked to go onto your phone during the presentation. So, everyone go to this link here, and you'll notice when you go to it, there is going to be a questionnaire, and this questionnaire is going to tell you exactly what superhero you are. It is 100% scientifically accurate, I guarantee.
Okay.
Hmm.
When it says what's your preferred gender, is that to be or to be with?
That's up to you. That's totally up to you. That is a very valid question.
I would say to be.
If anyone comes in late, I'll put up this link later so they can interact with it. So let's jump straight into what the agenda is going to be for this particular workshop. And I've just laid it out here pretty simply for you guys. First of all, we're going to cover what does authenticity in marketing actually mean? And then what does personalization look like in marketing automation? And then we're going to get to the fun bit where hopefully this form filling out questionnaire thing you're doing will come round full circle to creating and participating in an actual workflow with a live demonstration within an actual automation platform. And then we'll talk about blended and R methods around that, and we will then have an epic Q&A afterwards with myself and Adam, our CEO, here if we have time. And first of all, what better way to start a completely mesmerizing presentation than with a quote? The quote itself is, automation is interesting because it can shape the way a customer feels about the product or brand. Anyone have any clues at who said that? Anyone at all? No? I doubt, even though she's in the room, I doubt she even remembers saying that. It was actually Tanya there from Academy X site. There she is. She said this to me in an email, and I thought, that's it. That's exactly what I want to put in my quote. So thanks, Tanya, for that. And the reason why I brought up this particular quote, because it hits on a point very much so that makes sense to me, is feelings. That being authentic in marketing is a feeling, right? Which we see either being of one or two things, quite cold or quite personalized. And what I usually like to divvy those up into is the two different categories, either being about fluff or being authentic. So fluff, in this point, so it's this particular ad here that I put together. I didn't actually create this ad. This is a real ad by InfoLeads. It's an ad basically about creating ads for your business. I know, it's riveting. And as you can see, just from your first impressions of it, it doesn't really look like something much you'd want to click on or interact with. It doesn't speak to anything about me or really about anybody. It looks like it's using stock imagery. It's got very few engagements. It's not something I'd really feel about clicking. And if we had a look at the data behind it, I'm pretty sure the engagement rate would be pretty poor. So this ad doesn't make me feel anything. Whereas we have a look at this ad here on the right, First Kiss. Has anyone seen this video before? Raise your hand. Yeah, good on you. So, First Kiss is an ad, and you wouldn't think so when you first look at it, but it makes it abundantly clear when the ad starts. It says it's for a clothing brand. And your first impression when you watch it is that it's actually actively engaging you in a story, a narrative, it's making you feel something. In my case, a warm and fuzzies. Depends. You can take multiple things from this, but it does do something to you. And it has, by the looks of it, done a lot to about 142 million people so far. And the funny thing is, when I watched this, I thought, wow, that's really cool. I want to find out as much as I can about this brand and about the product that it's offering. And I'm not sure everyone did that. I am weird. But if only 1% of the people who watched that video did, that's still like 14 million. So it's crazy. So the reason why I show these two polar opposites kinds of ads is to display a problem that I'm seeing a lot in marketing, in particular in automated marketing, is that the problems are behind the automation, the targeted content itself, and the way people are using automative platforms. To put this into perspective, I like to sort of take on a bit of a story about a time where I was kind of new to marketing, and in particular using authenticity in my marketing. And I like to do so with a case study on a project I worked on. And in this case study, it's the independent film, Aussie film, called Rough Stuff. Now, Rough Stuff is about four-wheel drivers. It's about people on the Aussie outback having a good time, Americans and whatnot, you know, the Aussie spirit kind of thing. It's a great film, but when I was asked to initially work on this film, it had literally no content whatsoever to work with. There was no audience, there was nothing. It was maybe a very small following with like the page when it first started, but there was literally not much online activity going on whatsoever. So I had to work from the ground up. And we noticed when we started working on the content, in particular in the first, say, 3 to 4 months, we noticed that we were receiving quite underwhelming results when we were putting up content. We would put up something like this. Now, this particular post here was about an advertisement for the film and the trailer coming out or something like that. And we spent a total of about 3 hours on average on ads like this. And that would involve things like having to have it filmed and edited, editing the copy, scheduling it to post, and then promoting it, and then reporting on it later. There was a lot going into posts like this. And it was showing that the ROI on the time we spent versus the outcome was not going to prove anything worth it in the long run. But then what happened, I posted this. Have a read there. Now this particular ad performed really well, and it got an overwhelming response, an actual genuine engagement. And do you want to know how long it actually took me to put this ad together? 2 minutes. 2 minutes took me to just repurpose this that I found somewhere else and tie in some very simple content that spoke to the audience, and it wasn't even sponsored at all. We didn't put any ad money or anything. This was purely organic. And this was the first time that we saw a real surge in engagement with our posts. And so what did we take away from this? Well, what I did first was what any good marketer would do, is look into the data to see exactly why it was performing so well. And we noticed with ads like these, the reason why they weren't performing so well was because of the language being used in particular. It wasn't resonating with our target audience. It came across too salesy, you know, it didn't really have any kind of personality or tone to it that suggested someone wanted to engage with it from that particular audience. And then we were seeing that trend throughout most of the posts that we're putting up there. If you have a look there, 30% of the posts that we're putting out were not really doing as well as we thought we would. Like 30% successful post-reach engagement was pretty bad. So only 3 out of 10 posts we put up were doing any of the least bit well. And even that wasn't that good. And a lot of the time we had to sponsor the posts too. So what we did is we took what the other post I showed you, which is the one that posted and went really well, and we took the elements from that and tried to read into the comments people were posting, and there was some very colorful language I showed you from the four-wheel drive community. And we took what we could from that and shaped it into a formula and basically tried to pump out a lot more ads, well not ads, so posts, out online that were very similar and were following a very similar formula and tone. And the results were, well, fantastic. We saw about 9 out of every 10 posts that we did perform exceptionally well. That was getting a huge engagement rate. As a result of this, we ended up getting a lot more hits, we ended up getting more engagement, and therefore the word of the movie spread and it was reaching its intended audience. And we only hit this stride in about, say, 3 months before the movie's going to come out. So we got really lucky with this. So by the time the trailers started coming out, we were reaching wider and wider audiences. The first trailer came out, a TV spot, in the first week or so, we got over 30,000 hits, which was awesome. And by the time the teaser came out, we got over 100,000 hits in the first week. And then by the time the final theatrical trailer came out, we got over 170,000 hits in the first 48 hours. That was awesome, and such an accomplishment. And so the engagement and all of that happened really shaped the actual brand of what Rough Stuff was, and then further influenced the actual release, the cinematic release, and how we went about it, all the promotion that we did after that. We based upon all the audience engagement. So we listened to the audience, and the results spoke for themselves. So the outcome? By being authentic in all our marketing efforts, we gave the brand Rough Stuff its voice, better and more relevant reach, and higher conversions via the data and audience listening. And now that I'm sort of done proving about how authenticity can can be applied to your marketing and the results that can come from it. Let's talk about what the other half of this presentation is, which is about automation. What is marketing automation? Anyone have any ideas about what that entails? Yes?
Making the machines do stuff as opposed to the people.
That's exactly it in a nutshell. No, that's definitely part of it, for sure. Anyone else have any thoughts about what automation is exactly? Yeah? Totally, yeah, spot on. That's really good. Let's have a look at Marketing Automation 101 and what the actual definition is, and you'll see you are very close. Automation is defined as a process where technology is used to automate many repetitive tasks that are undertaken on a regular basis throughout sales, service, and marketing practices. What I actually want to talk about is the benefits of automation as it is now. So, one of the benefits clearly is simplifying complex processes within your company, whether that be interacting with your clients, your customers, internal processes, all that stuff like spreadsheets and all that can be eliminated by using automation. As well as company digital transformation can happen as a result of that, taking things that were old hat, the way you used to use paper processes, the way you used to email people or whatever, keep track of time sheets and all that. Digital transformation is a great thing that automation can offer to your business. The other thing is the obvious on-time delivery and communication that automation offers. So it can be incredibly accurate by the second these days with automation. So delivery these days is pretty spot on if you're using automation. As well as the quality of that communication. So improved quality and assurance, so making sure that the right content is going to the right people. That's incredibly important. And of course, it's great for client and lead relationship management as well. So, if you're not communicating with potential leads or pre-existing clients enough, automation can be set up so that you avoid those trappings. And of course, the biggest thing most people think about is the money, the cost. So the easier cost and tracking measurement is very apparent when it comes to automation because you can definitely track exactly how much you are spending for your automation practices and what it costs to set up, what it costs to keep ongoing, etc. So in essence, the biggest benefit of automation is delivering at the right time and via the right medium with the right content. You can't do this through traditional marketing processes. Anyone argue with that? No? Excellent. In saying that, what do we think can be automated? Anybody?
Emails.
Emails. Good. Good one. Anything else?
Social media posting.
That's the one. Awesome. Good. You will not have that answer. That's why I came to you. Sorry. Yes. No? No?
I was just saying, it reminds us that things like if you buy a product or service and it has a certain lifetime and you have a contract on it, you can obviously send those things out prior to the contract.
Exactly. Yeah, that's 100% true. You can do that with automation. So a few of the things we covered there. So emails, yes. Online ads, social media, responses, app pushes, SMS, landing pages. That covers quite a wide spectrum, wouldn't you say? Do you think that really takes everything into account? Yes? No? Well, no, it doesn't. It actually can do a lot more, and this isn't everything. So a few things in there like feedback and surveys, CRM management, analytics, invoicing, reporting, promotions, events like this one, device management, operation processes, all these kinds of things can be covered by automation and a lot more these days. It's quite amazing how much you can automate these days. So now bringing it back to the topic at hand, as well as it's all good to automate these kinds of things like workflows. So obviously you run the risk of being, like we discussed before, too cold, inauthentic, and very forgettable / deletable. I'm sure you've seen a lot of those emails that you get, you just delete straight away because you're like, this is crap, I'm not going to read this. I'm going to unsubscribe at some point, but you never do. Still get emails from Anaconda. So thus we jump into the next point I want to talk about, which is great, which actually solves this problem, and it was bestowed upon us by the great marketing gods themselves, personalization. So again, what is personalization? Anybody?
Making the automation or authentic.
Totally. I'm glad you're listening. Anyone else? Any ideas to what personalization is?
Tailoring a solution to your needs.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. All of those things, everything and the above. Let's have a look at some examples of what personalization is. Now, who here spends enough time, more time I should say, looking at Netflix and trying to find something rather than actually watching something? It's a pain in the ass, right? Oh, I love yeah. I guess for the rest of you, you staying on Amazon Prime, good on you. No, well look, the thing is like Netflix realized this, like they're aware that their database is overwhelming. Netflix regularly sends out these personalized emails and suggests movies to its users whoever has received one of these particular emails or notifications on Netflix. Yeah. So by providing customer recommendations, Netflix helps ensure that users are actively seeing the value in their subscription. In other words, it keeps people paying for the platform. The other great one here is Birchbox. Now, Birchbox is great. I don't know if any of you guys use Birchbox at all, but I love it. You can basically go in there and choose certain things, select and stuff, and put them into your baggage and all that. What Birchbox does is does something very clever. It uses personalization, but it's also very open about the fact of how it got that personalization. Like, hey, we took a peek into your inbox and saw what you were looking at and all that. And based on all that, here's what we think you would like. So they're very open and honest about how they found that information, and that's even better in terms of personalization and branding because it builds trust and loyalty with your customers. So Birchbox do a great job of doing that. The other one there is Spotify. Obviously Spotify, huge these days, and now these days they actually make you feel like you're being rewarded by using Spotify by sending you these kinds of messages saying stuff like exclusive content or you're a top listener. I don't know what that means, but basically they send you this kind of stuff and they recommend you things in emails based upon what you think you would like, based on what you've listened before. So that's really great. Spotify does that. And the other one here is Combank. Now, this is actually one of my emails, not mine. This is my email here. You can see here. Hi Gabriel, that's me. And those are my credit card numbers, at least the last four digits, so they're cancelled now, so even if you took those, you could do anything. But they sent me this because my travel money cards were going to expire, and luckily they did so because I'm actually going to Japan in October. This was literally sent to me like a couple of weeks ago. So, I mean, how crazy is that? They know I was going on that trip. Still figuring that out. But they do a great job in actually personalizing the email sent to me by sending me with my name and sending the last four digits on both of my travel cards and saying these particular cards are going to expire, so if you go and send us to send you a new one, you only go to is click a button and send you a new one. Which is good. And that's personalized and well timed as well. So aside from being a little bit creepy, how do you think they figured that out? This is actually kind of a complex answer, so I don't expect you to say this. But in essence, what they would do, instead of like, obviously it's not some one person going, okay, this is Jan's and this is Margaret's and this is, they're not doing that behind the scenes. What they've done is set up particular people like myself into certain lists that have certain triggers for certain time periods, and then have certain tokens in templated emails like this, where the tokens are actually placed upon my profile, whereby I'm going to use the last 4 digits of my number to pop into that email and my name as well. So that's an example there of dynamic content, which we're actually going to talk about a lot more in depth later on. But in essence, that's what dynamic content is. It's using certain parameters of data that you have available to your customers and then personalizing your content to them using that content. So, what do you think you need to consider above all else when considering any kind of marketing at all? Above all else. Anyone?
Audience.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Adam. Audience, or as we call it, customer journey. Okay, what is the customer journey? Well, let's have a read. A customer journey is the path you move the ideal stranger through into a customer and eventual advocate for your business. And if you're curious to know a lot more in depth about the subject of customer journeys, once you download these slides at the end, you'll have a link to download these slides so you can have them all to your disposal. You can click on that link there and check out our recorded webinar, which talks a lot more in depth about customer journeys, and you can listen to more of my delightful voice if you so wish to. So here's a very simple example of a customer journey, what it looks like kind of in black and white. Now, this is an example of a retail company customer journey. In this case, the example is the customer searching for a new TV, okay? Now, obviously with a lot of retail customer journey stuff, they're way more detailed and it's going to have a lot more divergent paths. But for now, we're just going to keep it quite simple for here. So we'll move along the customer journey here. So the first step always is when the customer comes to you as a stranger. They're not sure exactly you've got what they want and whatnot. So the first step is the awareness stage. And you make them aware doing things like online ads, social posts, retargeting, and printed materials, for example. So here's what we have here, JB Hi-Fi, for example, an online ad. After that, if they click through and check out the online ad, you have the acquisition phase, which takes them to a landing page, or they go in store, or they do an online follow, like on a social media page, for example. And then you've got the onboarding phase there. So the next step is the online sign-up rewards and coupons that this particular retail company can offer. In this case, you can sign up for that on JB Hi-Fi there. Then the next bit comes engagement, so product info, event, online content, etc. that comes from that. So you'd be looking at like this TV example here, finding the info about that particular product that you're interested in. And then you have the delight phase, which comes along with that, which is things like promos, sales, member exclusive offers, etc. In this case, this TV has a hot deal to it. And then the conversion comes from that, which is the online sale or the in-store purchase, which happens there. But it doesn't end there. It actually goes into the retention phase, which would then be the use of social-related offers, mailing lists, gift cards, etc. that you would send to basically retain your customers to make sure that they don't go anywhere else to buy any of their technology stuff or anything related to that TV. You always go back to Jamie Parker. Does that make sense? Customer journey from stranger to advocate for your business. So finally, let's look at the most important customer journey of all, ours. This is our one right now. It's literally happening right now. It's okay, don't freak out. It's fine. You had the point where you had the awareness, there was a social ad, an email marketing, something came to you that told you about this event, right? In this case, this one here is an ad we put up about the event that we were hosting here. There was the acquisition, so there's basically you signed up for the event. The onboarding, which I did earlier with you. I told you about the agenda and what we're talking about and all that kind of stuff. Next, we have the engagement, which is the actual workshop itself. That's me. And then we have the delight phase, which is the workshop interactivity, which is going to be happening quite next. When I basically told you to fill out those forms and stuff, we're going to be doing a lot more interactivity around that. And then there's the conversion stage where we talk about our professional services and give you the hard sell and all of that. And then we have the retention stage. So there are social posts, further events, mailing lists and stuff you can join on when it comes to what Blended offers. So we talked about the how you do all this. So let's talk about the what exactly. How do we achieve a personalization via automation? What exactly do we need? Do we need millions of dollars? Do we need more staff? Do we need more hours in a day? Do we need specialists? Do we need contractors? What platform do we need? There's so many bloody questions these days. It's insane. What I like to sort of do is break down basically with my clients the customer journey itself and then work out individually within those steps in the customer journey what the workflows are, the individual workflows for each. And workflows, in case you're not aware of, is a workflow consists of an orchestrated and repeatable pattern of activities enabled by the systematic organization of resources into processes that transform materials, provide services, or process information. That's a huge mouthful. So remember how we looked at our customer journey just briefly, right? Well, let's spend a bit more time working out an actual workflow that could fit within that customer journey. And we're going to do that practically. We're not actually just going to keep looking at slides like we're looking at now. We're going to jump into an actual automated platform and do it together. So this is where the whole filling out the form and finding out your superhero will come into play. All right? If you weren't here earlier for that, don't worry. The link will come up in a second so you can still participate. So we're going to build a customer journey now. And for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to use the platform of HubSpot. HubSpot is an automation platform that is probably the most user-friendly out there on the market and incredibly powerful. And also a lot of its components are free to use, so I highly recommend it. But for now, we're going to jump into the HubSpot platform and actually look about creating a workflow in this platform. And just to give you like a brief overview of what that's going to look like, this is the steps we're going to take. So at the moment, you guys are all in the delight stage, right, of the customer journey, the workshop interactivity. Next, what I'm going to do is build the workflow like I just said. In the meantime, if you haven't already, there's the audience fill out questionnaire thing. So there's the link there. If you didn't fill out the link already, go into your phone now, put that link in there and fill out the questionnaire so you can participate. Next step, what we're going to actually do is something a little fun to show off just exactly how powerful this platform is and how powerful workflows can be. We're going to have the submissions of all your things go to our CEO himself, and our CEO is actually going to respond to you personally. Not all of you, he doesn't have the time, but he's going to respond to a couple of you, and we'll have a look at what that means in a second. Once we turn on the workflow, all of that will take into account. So the workflow isn't on right now, which is why you haven't received your superhero. That will become more obvious later. And then we'll talk about how you're receiving dynamic content once that workflow gets turned on and what that actually looks like in the palm of your hand. And we'll see the segmentation list behind that. How we achieve that dynamic content we'll actually physically look at. And then we'll have a look, once our CEO has responded to a few of you, I'll ask you if you've responded to any of you, can put your hand up and we'll have a look at that, what that response actually looks like in the most powerful part of any automation platform is the single customer view section. So you can actually look at each individual contact and see what their individual interactivity is with anything related to our brand, right? Websites, social, email, communication, etc. And then after that, I'll show you about creating a follow-up workflow that flows in from that workflow that we just did. And I've already pre-prepared it, so we won't have to do it all again. Okay? We're all on board? Right. All right, so let's create a workflow. And go next. And we're just starting from scratch with bare bones workflow there. Okay? So the first trigger, can anyone tell me what exactly that would have been? You all did it earlier. What do you reckon it was? That's it, exactly. So let's set that first trigger. So the form submission, we'll find the form that you guys filled out, which I named, I think, which superhero are you? There it is. We'll set that as what that first trigger is and apply that filter, and we'll save it. So the next thing we wanted to happen from there was what? We wanted a notification sent to who?
CEO.
That's the one. Good on you. Excellent. So we'll set that as a notification to be sent to our CEO, who is Adam Crow. And we'll say in there, we can actually personalize that message that we're going to send to him. Next thing after that, what do we want? We want you guys to receive your... That's the one. Awesome. God, you guys are on it tonight. So I've set up a preset template with dynamic content already. So we'd have a look in here and go, there's a template there, your superhero. Awesome. Let's tick that and go save. Fantastic. And that's pretty much the end of the journey, I feel. So we'll just check that again. So we're going to fill out the form, message sent to our CEO, and you've got there your email sent to you with your dynamic content of your particular superhero. But what we also said we wanted to add on there was putting you guys into a follow-up workflow, which I'll explain a bit later. So I'll put in there at the end the last trigger being the next workflow. So that's the full entire workflow there as this part of the customer journey. We're going to review that. Now what's great about HubSpot is when we review it, we can actually see there the number of existing contacts that have already filled in this form before the workflow was even turned on. That's how powerful this is. You don't actually have this workflow turned on before you can actually start acquisitioning people to set into this workflow. And HubSpot gives you the option there. You can say, these contacts already meet the trigger criteria. Do you want to enroll them in the workflow when it turns on? And you can go, no, only enroll contacts who filled in the trigger after the workflow was set up, or yes. In this case, we're going to go, yes, we want to enroll existing contacts who meet the criteria as of now. So that all looks good to me. So let's turn this on. Cool, nice work. You're saving time and you look like a marketing hero. I didn't know it said that. I always overlook that. It's cool. So yeah, there we have the workflow turned on. Now, if you all sort of check your emails, hopefully you put in your real emails because otherwise you're not going to receive it. Jump into your emails there and have a look and let me know. Just put your hand up before you open it. Just put your hand up to say you've received it. Oh, this is so good. And breathe. Awesome, awesome. Okay. So before you open it, your email, have a look at the subject line here. What does your subject line say?
Blended digital. You're an Amazonian warrior.
You're an Amazonian warrior. Wow, awesome. What is yours?
You're my friend.
Oh, fabulous. Got so many distinguished people here tonight. I love it. You got
You're a bottom.
awesome. Anyone else got anything different? No, they all pick the same things. That's interesting. All right, this is like a audience survey that I didn't really intend to be. All right, so now look, if you open your emails now, have a look at the first thing that it says there. Does it say your first name that you entered into the form? Yep, cool. That's personalization. There you go. That was a token that we had there. Now if you scroll down below, you can see an image that was accustomed to your superhero. Everyone get theirs? Lovely. Okay. So how did we do that? Let's have a look. Go to the email section here. So we'll go and edit this email. This is an automated email that we have set up in the system. It's a template. And what you can see here, you've got here at the top there, hi, contact first name. Cool. Or should we say this particular superhero? The way we set that up is we set this up as dynamic content, or in this case, what HubSpot calls it, smart content. And you can see here the email body there, it says, there you can set up a rule and you have the rule set up to whatever particular superhero you could be set up for. So there's quite a few superheroes there. Did anyone get Dr. Manhattan or Vision or anything like that? I really was hoping somebody would put in something really weird and we'd get something cool like that. But anyway, that's fine. So that would basically attribute to your particular superhero based upon your list. And these are all stemming from lists that you're now all a part of. I think some people already filled in these forms before when I was testing. So we've got 3 Iron Men, 3 Scarlet Witches, 6 Wonder Women, and 6 Supermen. And if we have a look into these lists themselves, we can see who belongs to those. So that's basically what that means, is the parameters of these lists influence the dynamic content, which was preset in those email templates. Does that all make sense? Awesome. Okay, so did anyone receive an email from the CEO yet? Oh, we got one. Okay. What was your name, sorry? Kelly. So Kelly McCann. And we can see how many times she opened it, when it was delivered and sent. We can see here on the side here, the location we met, Academy XI, Authenticity Workshop. Cool, that's a preset workflow that we have already set up. We've got in here your preferred power, intelligence, smart choice. Awesome. Once you start actually interacting a little bit more with our brand, you can see here there that you've been to one particular site belonging to Blended Digital, and once you start going to more and start going to social pages and all that, we'll start seeing that in that activity section there. And we can see when it was most recently visited and when the first visit was. That starts filling out the more and more you interact with it. And you received an email from our CEO. So yeah, that is the power there of being able to view all of the information that one particular customer is viewing in one place. And it's really important for you as a marketer to have all this information at your disposal and so easily accessible in one place. And what I've said here is a bit more of a complicated workflow, as you can see, with multiple outcomes depending on what your activity might be. It's not the full scope of it, but it's pretty much most of the foreseeable outcomes that could happen. In this case, if you're a list of this particular workshop masters list, which you all are now, then on the 9th of September, you should receive an email saying, thanks for coming. and it will have your particular name and it'll have all that dynamic content, blah, blah, blah. It'll invite you to a follow-up webinar that we're doing next week, which you can just tune into. And if you do sign up for it and click the call to action in there, if that's a yes, then you get a registration email follow-up. So now leaving HubSpot, let's go back to the slides and finish off what we wanted to look at here with the remaining part of the workshop, which is looking at what that actual workflow looks like in black and white. We do this a lot for our clients. So this is a very simplified version. In particular, this is R1 for what I just showed you in HubSpot, this workflow. And this is for one particular outcome. You would have multiple ones, depending on how many outcomes could occur from different workflows flowing into other ones and different outcomes, etc. So there's an example of ours in black and white. Here's another example one that I wanted to show you that you could set up quite easily, and it's actually really powerful and quite valuable for in particular, insurance company or any other kind of company that uses similar processes. In this case, we use an insurance company to prove what a very simple workflow could be used to get a really valuable outcome. In this case, it was a workflow around people's policy expiring in 3 months. Now, stats have shown that if you send positive branded content to a particular client at least 3 months or 2 months before their policy expires, then they're more likely to sign up when you send them their renewal letter. So this is what we've done here. We have a list of all people whose policies are going to expire, and in 3 months, we send them out positive branded content, which includes things in the email saying, or in the social post saying, things like, we have the best value for money. We've won all these awards. Here's all these testimonials we can do. Here's our new initiative, blah, 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 all this stuff sent through email, social media, and stuff. So you're basically being not bombarded, but politely nudged about this kind of stuff. And then they wait another month, and then they send you the renewal offer, which is about to happen in a month's time. And the likelihood of people renewing for that particular insurance policy goes up considerably. I think it's something like 83% or something like that. Another quick example here is another powerful one for retail companies, the cart abandonment conversion workflow. So if you're a retail company and you have, say, people who go up online and try to purchase something from you and they abandon the cart at any point, but you still have, say, an email and first name, which is still quite a lot of information you can have at your disposal. All those leads who fail to convert within that cart abandonment from last week are put to that list. And then what happens next is actually a really powerful thing you can do, where you can set up 10% of your audience. Say you have 1,000 people, send 100 of them a bunch of different emails with different subject lines, content layout, images, etc. to try and gauge out of those 100 people who engage the most with those particular emails. And then you find the one that, say, got the most out of that 100, and then you replicate that for the remaining 90%, because you know they're going to perform better than the other Tesla ones that you put in. That's the A/B testing you can do within the workflow, which is incredibly powerful. And so 90% of those reach those emails reach 90% of the rest of the people, and if, again, those emails aren't opened and didn't click through anything at all, and you have their mobile number at your disposal, you can actually send them via automation later on an SMS saying the same offer and saying, hey, 10% off any item, or whatever it might be. So yeah, that's just a really simple but powerful example of a workflow that you can have as a retail company. So obviously, we know a lot about this stuff and we babble about it. I'm sorry if I have none today, but basically, we're Blended Digital. We are marketing consultants, all of us. We're nerds, basically. And we talk about this stuff a lot. Blended Digital is a marketing automation specialist consultancy, and we're about 8 people strong at the moment. And basically, you may have seen that we use HubSpot a lot, but we're not actually tied into HubSpot or any other platform whatsoever, like Adobe or Salesforce or SAP or anything like that. We're actually quite unique in the fact that we're 100% agnostic. And that means that if you're using a particular platform that you want to stick with, we can help you get the most value out of it and the most use out of it. Or if you haven't chosen one yet and you're still figuring out what it's going to be or what you're going to use or what your marketing automations need to be, what your practices need to be, then we can help figure that out for you. Because at the end of the day, that's our vision. We want to be our clients' technology advocates, not suppliers. Okay, there's enough suppliers out there. We want to be your advocates. And the end goal for us, our goal is to make sure all your outcomes are the best they can be. So, in other words, we want to supercharge them. And our mission overall is to be with you. So while your company is growing, we want to grow with you. While the industry is growing, we want to grow you so that you're adjusting to how the industry is growing as well. And here's a few of our clients. So you may recognize a few of those there. Humble brag, but yeah, there's a few people that we work with there. So yeah, what did we learn? What did we learn today? I'm just going to not ask what exactly we learned because there's a lot that we covered, but I'll simplify it in this little paragraph here. It says, by being authentic in all our marketing automation efforts, we can develop customer journeys for every lead or current customer we encounter by delivering personalized experiences via crafted dynamic content within every possible digital touchpoint and workflow outcome. And that pretty much covered all of it. So thanks everyone for listening. My name's Gabriel McCarthy. Really appreciate you coming here. And you can download all these slides now from that link. Thank you all.